Alright guys, so now I'm reaching this Chuansha old town, which is the ancient town supposed to be here, but unfortunately this place is quiet, and you don't see the majority of the shops are open, and but this is the restaurant which is opening. But anyway, as you can see, a lot of like these old shops look like so basically they put a post on it, so say these shops are for renting. And so since I'm not able to bring up like the local food and interesting shops and souvenir shops, and the touristy it's like super crowded, so I'm going to bring you some kind of interesting topic that I just pop up in my mind, which is the uncivilized Chinese tourists all over the world. Oh, so this is a quite ancient thing. Uncivilized Chinese tourists, this is a very recent thing, and you even can see a Reddit subgroup forum that you can find in Reddit, and that talking and mocking and laughing at these uncivilized Chinese tourists. For me, which is a sad thing, because you know, I 90% agree of their opinions about these uncivilized Chinese tourists. Like you got people behave uncivilized in the buffet. They try to grab those salmon meats, and you know, they're wasting a lot of food. As well as last time in Lithuania, and that woman take out that sign and throw it away, which is unpolite, and it is quite assaulting to the local Lithuania people actually.
来看一下上面是什么东西？谁写的？
香港人。
滚蛋，给他扔了，扔到那里去吧。
好 ，OK。
And you also see like people eating sunflower seeds in the subway.
不能这样。
你想吃瓜，你可以下去吃嘛。
吃吧。
整节车厢里头就你一个人这样。
滚！
让谁？
检查。让你嗑瓜子，让你嗑瓜子，嗑瓜子，嗑瓜子，来，再嗑瓜子，来，走。
People taking a dump in Hong Kong.
网络媒体网友战翻。
你放手！你这么多人干嘛？我家孩子吓到了，你知道吗？我不知道。
And all this kind of ridiculous thing. And typically, I think that was last year, and there was a family actually. They went to Stockholm, and when they arrived Stockholm, it's quite like late in the evening. They booked a room like the day after, so they arrived at like 11 or 10 p.m. but they supposed to be arrived the next day. What were they doing was sitting in the lobby of the hotel and take out all of their stuffs and lying on the couch or in the cafe or in the lobby. I forgot. You know, the hotel staff was like try to pursue them to leave, in the proper time, because you cannot stay in the hotel for a quite long time, like after 12 p.m. or something. But they refused to go to anywhere instead of just stay in the hotel, because I think those are very greedy people, and they want to save like one night stay accommodation fee or something. For me, it's quite ridiculous. So they were fighting to the hotel staffs, and also the police was involved, and finally they were like dragged out of the hotel.
Killing! This is killing! This is killing! Just come and say this.
I think the police, the Stockholm, the Swedish police didn't use like violent force to move them out. It's just like politely dragging them out of the door and put them on the street and ask them to find another hotel.
People just doing this way. See, we are here and people are sick. Here, who can help them? And these people just tell them this. Just want to see.
I'm not intending to retell the story, but for me, as a Chinese, as well as I'm a Swedish resident, I stay in Sweden for quite a long time. It's been over 4 years. I know this country. I can't say I know it very well, but I know the majority of the social manner. And Swedish people actually are very polite. Basically, if you are not talking about those thugs and people rioting in Malmo or something, but yeah, that's another story. But if you are talking about the Swedish people in general, they behave polite. Sometimes they are speaking loudly on the train, but they won't do racism towards to the other ethnic group, especially Chinese. I experienced it in Australia, but I never seen it in Sweden. I can't say it will never happen to anybody, but this is a very in general thing, and you don't see it quite frequently. So here's the thing: what kind of person make the policeman involved just try to make you like get out of the hotel? It's the person who is visiting or traveling in the hotel, but they don't want to pay it, right? So for me, if I was in that situation, it's quite simple, right? First, I won't go to the hotel one day in advance and stay in the lobby for several hours and try to take a free stay in the hotel. This is one thing. And in another thing, if the staff or crew tell me to leave the place, I will just leave, right? There's no reason to stick over there, and I will just take out booking.com and book another hotel, and you get out over there decently as a gentleman. You don't have to behave badly and finally run into fighting and they shouting like it's killing. What is the killing? Who is going to killing? Anyway, so the Chuansha ancient town is very small. So now I'm in some local neighborhood. I don't know where I can get into, but yeah. So the uncivilized Chinese tourists are some kind of the consequence of something which is going on in this country. The majority of those uncivilized tourists overseas are usually those middle-aged uncles and aunties, and those people, those people who grew up during the Great Famine. They experienced this crucial cultural revolution. People like against to each other, snitching to each other, as well as fighting each other. So they are quite dividing people and very selfish. You know, you know, I was born during the 80s. As this kind of person who was born during the 80s, you know, my entire childhood wasn't like now. You have a very sufficient materialism and etc. But my generation is more civilized. So you won't do such kind of uncivilized behavior when you try to let the kids take a dump on the street and without taking it off, and it's quite look bad, right? But undeniable. I'm not saying like everyone is like this, but those like certain travel groups really make the Chinese entire ethnic group looks really embarrassed and bad. So for those guys, like for those aunties and uncles, you are quite difficult to change their mindset, because their entire life was sticking with this kind of mindset. It's always me, and always selfish, because there was like limited of the resources. You have to fighting each other to get the limited resource, etc. So for me, I can understand them. But you know, my father's generation and my dad and mom, they grew up over that period, but they still kept like behave quite decently and polite, and they kept the traditional Chinese moral standard still, more or less. I can't say it's totally like the ancient group that of our ethnic, but they can still behave like civilized people, all right? So it's not like reflecting to everyone that went overseas and they can't behave like a normal human being. So that's pretty much what I'm gonna say today, and hopefully look at this little alleyway. This is a very typical neighborhood that maybe during the 80s I was living in, but now I'm no longer belongs to such place, but it's still reminding. But anyway, so that's one topic that I want to bring up. And if you the local people in the Europe or in any other countries, you experience this terrible Chinese uncivilized tourists, I say sorry to you guys, and I hope the situation will be changed, because the new generation grew up in a relatively healthy environment. I can't blame the older generation. They were grew up in a really hard time, like experienced the famine, etc. And something made them a little bit selfish. Something made them only think about themselves. But I hope it will be changed, and it will be changed soon. All right, cheers guys, see you guys next time.